Yeah, let me get the.
Okay, hopefully everybody can hear us. Can y'all hear us on Instagram? Type in, let me know that y'all can hear us. If you cannot hear us on Facebook, on YouTube, let me know. We've already got questions, so this is good. All right, so I'm going to reintroduce our guest because he hopefully everybody totally can hear us. Can y'all hear us on Instagram? Type in, let me know that y'all can hear us. If you cannot hear us on Facebook, on YouTube, let me know. We've already got questions, so this is the show from your. All right, so
No,
I'm
mine
going to
is.
reintroduce our guest because he is everybody totally can hear us. Can y'all hear us on Instagram? Type in, let me know that y'all can hear us. If you cannot hear us on. Let's see. We've already got questions. Can you hear that? Can you hear?
That,
And I think they can hear. Great. Okay, it went away. Oh, okay. So that's what it is.
what is it?
Whatever you just stopped doing, or stop, or if you didn't touch anything.
No, I ended the Instagram live, but it was on mute.
Oh, so maybe that's what it was. Okay, so we'll just rock it without Instagram live being there. I think it was Instagram live. I don't know. Oh, I don't know what's yeah. But anyway, so Bashea is a mental health uh, expert, therapist, a relationship advisor, and the author of the phenomenal book Dear Future Wife, a man's guide and a woman's reference to healthy relationships. Now, if you're an avid viewer of Office Hours, you know that typically the show is co-hosted by myself and our career expert, Meredith Moore Crosby. Tonight, Meredith will be manning our chat box, and she's allowing me to ask the hard questions. So let's get ready to dive in. So, Bashe, thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
No problem. So, are we going to hear? Because I hear the feedback.
So, everybody in the on YouTube said that it's working fine.
I have my phone off, so
All right, let me see. Let me see if so weird. Okay, so is it better now, Bashe?
I still hear it.
You still hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Okay, what about now?
No.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. So do you have anything else broadcasting or playing?
No, I dropped Instagram. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure it's not. Yeah, everybody's saying that they don't hear anything. We're the only ones that are hearing it. Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure. Okay, hello,
Yeah.
Bashea.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So we're good. No more feedback.
I think we're good. So what was that?
So you were right. There was something. There was something rolling on
Okay.
another page. All right,
Okay.
y'all. Now that we figured out all those kinks, um, they're laughing at us. I said, at least you guys are entertaining.
Right.
All right, so here we go.
So are you putting Instagram back on?
Yeah, you want to?
That's fine.
All right, let's give it a try. As long as our audio sound. Thank you for your patience, everybody who's joining us on YouTube Live. We're trying something new tonight, just because I got so many people were just like excited about tonight's conversation. So let's see. We're just going to turn on Instagram Live as well. All right. All right. All right, everybody. Oh, somebody said they heard feedback on IG. So that's what they joined us here. So we'll see what happens. All right. So let's just start from the top because we had some interference. We had some things going down, but it's all good. It is after hours, and these types of things happen when you're off the clock and when you're live. So here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of After Hours. I'm super excited to have a real conversation around relationships. There's been so many people who wrote in and shared their qualms, their concerns, and things that they are dealing with in their relationships now, and just their desire to be in a relationship if they are not already in one. So I have called on the intellectual emotionalist, who is better known as Bashea Williams. Bashea is a mental health expert, or mental health therapist, a relationship advisor, and the author of the phenomenal book, Dear Future Wife. See, I have my copy. All right. And so one of the things that I want us to be able to talk about in this conversation is, some of the things that you all have been dealing with as it relates to being in a relationship, some of the anxieties that have been harboring you, and just things that you've been dealing with. And we've had a number of comments that have been going through our YouTube chat box. So I'm excited for Bashea to be able to address them. So Bashea, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the introduction.
Awesome. Tam already said, yes, your book is absolutely amazing. So thank you, Tam, for sharing that. All right. Now, if you are familiar with Office Hours, then you know that typically the show is co-hosted by myself and our career expert, Meredith Moore Crosby. Tonight, Meredith will be manning our chat box, so she's allowing me to ask the hard questions. But while I ask these questions, you guys have to ask the questions in the chat box so we know what to get our expert to share with us. So, Bashea, I'm curious, during this COVID season, have you seen an increase in the amount of patients that you've been seeing, or just people dealing with anxiety?
Yeah, it's been an exorbitant amount of clients that have been kind of dealing and trying to manage what's happening. Because I understand that it's not just happening with us, it's happening worldwide. So you can only imagine that people are trying to adjust to what's happening in society. I had to leave IG because you can hear the echo of my things not doing it. But just people learning to adjust to what they're calling it the new normal. But we don't have our coping mechanisms. We don't have our escapes anymore. We're forced to stay in it, and we don't have control of our circumstances. So, that's the epitome of what anxiety looks like, not having control. So now we're looking at what's happening next, and we're struggling with staying present to what's happening now. And it's what is happening now is what's present is also scary. So a lot of people are just losing, control.
Do you also think it's a sense of losing confidence? Because as I feel like people continue to um, deal with like the high unemployment rate, the uncertainty of like just how they are going to maneuver and deal with their life. Like you said, there's really no scapegoat if you're not happy at home and you were using, okay, I'm about to go to my job as my getaway.
Right.
Like, how are they coping, or what are some coping mechanisms that you can share with us?
So right now, the only thing we can focus on is what we can actually control.
Mm-hmm.
So different coping mechanisms that I give is creating a schedule of what home looks like. If you are an office person, you like to be in office, set your home up like an office.
Mm-hmm.
A particular room is strictly where I do work. When you're done with your work, you close your laptop, so you know that you're off. I know a lot of people like to work in their bed, but that bed is supposed to be where you rest. A lot of people try to work in their bedroom, and I understand not everybody has an office, have a space. So dictating or dedicating a specific area to my office. So now the corner is right there. It's the office. I'm going to close my laptop. I'm going to turn on my computer, and I'm going to walk to a different part of the office. Of my room.
Mm-hmm.
So really emulating and creating that schedule. That daily schedule, what it looks like. I tell people to get dressed if they feel like they're going to work. Because so sometimes we stay in our pajamas, and that equates to us laying down. And so we start to feel a certain way about ourselves. We start to doubt ourselves and think, less of ourselves because we're in our pajamas. I tell people to put on their perfume, put on their cologne, and really like smell good. You smell good, you feel good. What was your routine before you went to the office? Now you have more time to dedicate to some of those things that you did at home before you started your day.
Mm-hmm.
So try to get in that. And the people that lost their job is understand, again, it doesn't minimize that it's happening to you, but understand that it's happening to everybody. A lot of people are losing their jobs. So there's a sense of anxiety about, I no longer have finances to take care of things. There's a lot of different programs, and although they're out there, it's hard for us to really configure that we have access to those things and then go into that process again of getting out of our normal.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to setting those routines in the home, right? We talked about like making sure that you close your computer, have a designated workspace area. But what happens when you have children and you are maybe a single mother or a single father? And so now you add on the stress of, okay, I have to be able to perform because I want my kids to be able to make it to the next grade. So you have that stress, right? And you may not be able to just close off a particular area for you to be able to, function and solely work on, focus on work. Like, what are some recommendations for those individuals?
To be patient with yourself and understanding that you are a single mother, a single father, or whatever your circumstance is, and understand like when you're not able to function the way that you used to, you can explain that to your boss, your supervisor, the company, because everybody's affected.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to really communicate that with them. Tell them to struggle. Don't hide the fact that you're a single mother. Don't hide the fact that you're a single father. Communicate with them because we should all be a little bit more understanding, and that way it can be easier on ourselves when we get distracted. My kid is running in the room. I try to set boundaries, this is mommy time, this is daddy time, I got to work. So we got to take more breaks to give them attention, to also make sure they're okay. Mm-hmm. But we also, again, have to give ourselves a little leisure, a little empathy when it comes to those things, because it is hard. It's like I'm used to performing at this level, but you're also used to having a babysitter take care or daycare take care or school take care of your child. You no longer have that. Mm-hmm. So again, give yourself, again, some empathy and some patience.
Right. Now, when everything first hit, COVID hit in China, right? When everything started to go on the decline, there was a drastic increase in divorce cases. Do you speculate that here in the U.S. and other countries that there will be a similar increase in that divorce rate?
Well, there actually has. There has been here.
Okay.
Because again, we don't have those luxuries. We don't have those escapes. We don't have those places where, we're upset with our partner. We can go outside. Mm-hmm. We can go to the gym. We go to work. We're spending 8 hours at work and sometimes spending longer just to avoid home. So now all the things you avoided, you have to go home. You have to live with. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times, because or people have avoided those things for so long, they don't have the tools to deal with conflict. So imagine you're dealing with your normal relationship conflict, you're dealing with a pandemic, you're dealing with finance issues, you're dealing with the lack of escape, the lack of the things that help you kind of get through the day, and you're stuck in this house with someone that you are struggling to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's stress from the world and there's stress from the relationship, and you don't know where to go. So I've been working with a lot of couples on conflict resolution, kind of learning how to love each other again, learning how to communicate, learning and understanding that it's not just them that's experiencing this, learning forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of your partner, creating new date ideas, just a whole bunch of different things that help relationships either get better, manage themselves, and just understand what's going on.
Now, what are some of those tools that you equip some of your patients with or clients with to be able to cope with conflict at home?
So I have a specific program that I use. It's called Prepare and Rich, and I also use some things that I use, personal relationships and other different things like that. So if you're struggling with communication, we have different exercises I use in sessions where we practice listening, like literally practicing listening. So if you and your significant other were sitting beside each other and you struggle with understanding another person, all I want you to do is repeat what that person said. Mm-hmm. The whole session can be you literally repeating what the other person said. You're not rephrasing it. You're not reframing it. You're not answering it because you have a rebuttal, but you're actually repeating exactly what the other person said. And you practice that, and you get to learn how to listen. You get to learn how to understand where that person is going. Yeah. I teach timeout, which is not cliche. I know you talk about kids. We don't give them timeouts.
But yeah, literally, this for the kids and this for the adults. I was a few timeouts away from my kids.
Right. But it's a few, like you literally have to say, time out. We're not addressing the issue. We're addressing everything else. Mm-hmm. And then you realize you're fighting something that happened 2 weeks ago because you didn't address it 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And this right here, right now, what's happening is the boiling point. So now I'm arguing because I'm on the defense, I'm on the offense, and then we're just fighting. We're not addressing the issue. Mm-hmm. So getting proactive, I say set times to have discussions about specific topics. Again, you take your time out and you come back and you find a better way to express yourself. Mm-hmm. You talk about, we got to stop telling our partner what they're doing or what they're not doing. Tell them what you need from them. Like, I need this. Sometimes when you do this, it does this to me. So just reframing a lot of the conversation and just really being a different way of getting what you need in a relationship as opposed to what you're not getting.
Now, what would you suggest in the event that in all of that time that you are in the confines with this other person now, some things have been revealed to you that are not in favor of the other person, whether they have been cheating, whether, some things just start to come to the surface. Like, what are some different things that can help people cope with that, at least through this situation that they have to live in the same quarters?
Mm-hmm. So for that, the person who offended needs to take full ownership. Mm-hmm. They need to be empathetic. They need to be understanding. They need to be honest. Of course, they need to apologize. They need to give space. Understand that the other person is going with this new information. And you guys need to get help. Like, there's so many resources out there that help you through this process. And trying to manage it by yourself, because I think a lot of times when things happen, you don't want to let people know because you feel embarrassed for staying in a relationship. You feel hurt. You don't really have anybody to talk to. You may not trust the different people that might say, like, give you advice. Definitely seek help because it's important, because you're literally stuck almost. Mm-hmm. So now, even if you say, I want to leave, where are you going to go? There's fears of transferring whatever or getting the COVID or doing whatever. So you need to find a way to coexist in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. Or coexist without speaking for a while. Again, there's that time out. Like, I need some time to process this. Mm-hmm. Understand the other person's going to be hurt. Respect that, let them have their process. And we got to take ownership. If those things come out, the person that did it, you got to take ownership. You got to take ownership.
Now, I'm moving us to the people who are single. We're going to get there, single ladies and men who are listening. But for the people who know this is the end of the road, when COVID's done, we're done. If we know that we're there and we have children, what are some good things to be mindful of as you're constructing your divorce separation agreement and all those things?
It's the same thing as far as you don't want to have these arguments. You don't want to let the kids see these things. You got to protect their ears, their eyes. Understand you guys aren't connected, but you're still going to have to co-parent. Mm-hmm. So even practicing co-parenting during that time is going to be difficult, but you have to make a conscious decision that I'm going to practice co-parenting now, because if it's something that you guys can't forgive, you can't reconcile, you can't do that, you got to make a decision. And again, if you need to have those things, like I have couples who are at that stage, and we literally focus on communication, focus on co-parenting while they're existing. They're waiting for everything to open up, to move. And we're just focusing on the tools to help them coexist at this particular time.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, it's all said and done, right? Divorce decree is out. You got your signed paperwork. Now you free. And for even the people who feel like they've been living in the house and alone because they're not connected to anybody, or the people who are single and are alone and want to know some of the things that they might be able to do to connect to somebody because they're in this state of loneliness. What are some, I jumped 2 thoughts there. What are some suggestions for the people who are single and maybe dealing with loneliness?
So, and a lot of that's happening, and it's good and bad, because I think some people, they've been dealing with their loneliness by having other people occupy their time and their space in an unhealthy way. Mm-hmm. So now you can't do that. Now you don't have the distraction of why you feel lonely, why you can't be by yourself, and what are you missing from yourself, or what do you need from yourself. So we do a little introspection and worry about and concentrate on, what am I feeling lonely? What am I missing? If it's an actual body, that's different. If this is a present in a healthy relationship, that's something that you focus on, being another healthy person entering into a healthy relationship. Because once you're healthy by yourself, you can notice certain things in other people that you won't allow. You can notice other things that you will be okay with because you can manage it. And I know we talk about red flags all the time, but a lot of times the red flags that we see are through our own lenses, because they're from our insecurities, our previous experiences. We're unable to communicate those things to a potential partner. Mm-hmm. So if you're by yourself, you say, you know what, I can't wait till this open up. I'm going to be hanging out with everybody. You're literally setting yourself up for what you've been going through before. Mm-hmm. Because now you haven't focused on exactly what you want in a relationship, what you need in a relationship, and what you need personally. So there's a lot of different things that you can do by yourself. You can try to address some of the things that happened before that got you to your singleness, the things that, how you show up in a relationship, what your triggers are. And if you're looking for, strong, healthy, there's a lot of different activities that people are doing now. And this is like
So what can the single people who are healed, we feel good about ourselves, we're not in a state of loneliness. I heard you, I feel like you're about to go there. Like, what are some things that we can do to date during COVID-19?
Oh, there's some fun things to do. I know Stacey J just did something. It was like a huge online dating event where she had I think it was 600 applicants, and she had speed dating. It was 60 people online, and they were getting to know each other. She set people up with different dates. I think with everybody looking at everything online, we have to be very careful what we put out. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of people say, I'm single, I'm not dealing with nobody, I'm not dealing with this and not dealing with that. That's initially, a put off. If somebody comes up and it's I understand that, and I could say I'm not either, but I don't want anybody that's going to discredit or that's not going to have space for me to come in just to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you can search online for, I think Bumble, or I think that's what it's called, with Common and who is he dating now? Tiffany Haddish. Okay. They had it through Bumble.
Okay.
And I think you can Google different things, but when you're having these dates, now it's like old school. Because remember back in the day, we didn't have as much access to people.
Right.
So we had to literally stay on the phone and get to know a person.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote letters, and just, do fun things and get back to like traditional ways of dating with not access, and just have more conversations. You can have the dates and stuff online, virtual dates. I know couples who do virtual dates together. There's a group of couples that do different things. There's so many like live streams where they just invite random people in and everybody's just hanging out. D Nice has his stuff online where you can tell your partner, hey, to put it on too. You guys are watching it together or listening to music together. So there's ways of really strengthening opportunities for relationships, and I think that's healthy right now, because again, you're not in with the distractions of a date with somebody. It's just doing too much. You're not getting to know them. You're hiding behind the drinks, or somebody's too forward when it comes to sex, and everybody's just talking about sex. So there's things that are eliminated now because you actually have to communicate with somebody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what are some things that if I want to prepare, like I'm in that preparatory stage of, I want to make sure when I come out of COVID, I'm ready to receive the person that I want, right? I'm ready to attract that person to me. What is some self-help that I can start doing to work on myself?
Besides my book,
And that
my
book
book,
title is Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. Yes, besides your book.
right. So it is, like I said, it is a workbook. There's a lot of different things in there to really examine yourself. Because a lot of times we think we're healed, but we just avoided things. So we're in our singleness. It's like, I'm good. I know when I come out, I'm gonna be ready to date. But when you're by yourself, you don't date your triggers. You're not triggered. So when you come out to date and you said, I've been healed for so long, I've been working on this, but you've also been avoiding it. So now it shows up. You're like, you know what? I don't have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
When sometimes that's just an opportunity for a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So people are so afraid, or people say, don't do a list of what you want. And I say, do a list of what you want, but also line yourself up with that list.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got those things, how would you handle it? The things that you don't like, why don't you like them? What can you do to manage different things? Because there's no perfect person. Stuff is going to happen. When you first start dating, you're not going to like certain things. But again, have the conversations. We wait too long to have conversations. And then we're 6 months down the road or a year into a relationship, and we're talking about things that happened on the second date that we never liked. But they kept doing it and doing it. We kept tolerating it. And now they're like, well, why didn't you tell me a long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
We could have had that conversation. Now the defense is up, and now we're arguing about how long you've been doing it as opposed to you not liking it.
Right.
So again, if you're single and you're trying to prepare yourself, know your triggers, know yourself, know what you like, know what you don't like, know what you can manage, know what you can't manage, know about how your parents' relationship impacted you, your last relationship impacted you, and just how you're moving differently. Like you create the space of, I'm available, and tell yourself I'm available for these things, and these things I need to talk about them, or they're non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
You write your non-negotiables and ask yourself, why are they non-negotiable? Because people will write stuff down and just take them off somebody else's list, or see something that happened in their last relationship, say, this is a non-negotiable, but ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, well, I never thought about it. I just know I don't want it. Well, why don't you want that? What does that do for you? What does that mean to you?
So essentially be honest and talk early about what you like. Don't let it build up where it just becomes acceptable. Essentially it's
Right.
a precedent, because if they don't know and they keep doing, they think that it's acceptable, essentially, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
So I'm always amazed because, I have the women's nonprofit, and we have an amazing array of women who have multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're extremely successful women. But one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of these women are single, and not by choice. Well, I guess by choice, but they really want to be in a relationship. They really want a man to, be with them, that companion. What are some reasons that you think the numbers are kind of showing that they may not be successful in having a man, even though they're very successful in business?
Yeah. There's several reasons. You guys outnumber us. That's number one. Number two is, some things happen along that way to get to success sometimes. And sometimes women might have, relationships where they were dealing with an immature man or some bad experiences and totally shut off dating and said, I'm going to focus on my career. So for this long period of time, I built this, like you said, $1 million business. I'm a CEO. So I'm not allowing anybody in my space that doesn't match what I created. But the truth is that man wasn't along with you during that journey. So now do you have enough space, or do you even consider having that opportunity to talk about what it means to meet the other person? And I know they say a lot of times men are intimidated. Some are, but some just won't tolerate the way you talk. Like if we're talking, we talk in business, but this is more about relationship. Mm-hmm. So what does it mean to talk about relationship? Because the first red flag, like I said, is opportunity for a conversation, not necessarily a red flag. The first thing that you see, you're like, you know what, I'm not dealing with this. This reminds me of somebody else. I'm not letting anybody throw me off what I created, what I'm trying to do. I can do this by myself. I'm a millionaire. I can buy my own clothes. I can fly myself out. And if you can't, then I can't meet you.
I'm laughing because that's facts. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about that is, I've like a long time ago when I first graduated from grad school, coming out, and I wasn't making a lot of money. And so I was dating someone that made double what I made. Right? But I was good with managing my money. So at that particular time, that, the first time going to Ruth Chris, and she was like, I'm gonna treat you to something nice. I was like, okay. Ruth Chris, the steak was good. Okay. So I knew I could have afforded the same thing, but I wanted to create an experience. Mm-hmm. So what I did was hire a chef to come and teach us how to cook that same meal, because that was a favorite meal. And it didn't cost me much. It cost me $100 to do that, but it was like 300 and something to do that. So I got the wine. I got pretty much emulated the same thing. So we created an experience. Had the menu written up, created, I forgot what they're called when you wear the apron, whatever, all that stuff. So it was an experience. But to her, it was like, I spent all this money that doesn't add up. And I think it was just a thought process, both being immature at the particular time. And so saying like, I want to travel, I want to go, you can't take me. I'm used to doing this, because the last person she dated made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so, but the last person she dated was his way of love was just buying stuff.
Yeah.
So he was more accustomed to just taking somebody out, but there was no emotional connection. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's what she missed from the last relationship. Mm-hmm. And that's what she does for herself. So at that particular time, I wasn't doing that. Right. So we disconnected because of that. So now if I meet somebody that's a multi-millionaire, I mean, I'm able to do those things, but are we going to the top luxury, whatever, that's like $10,000 a night? No. We want to be in the Maldives, that's the difference. And it's just like, are you willing to be okay with that? Or if it doesn't meet your standard, do you say, okay, well, let me help with that, or have a conversation about what you need from that?
Right.
Because sometimes when you say, you know what, I don't want to do that, I'll just pay for it, that takes away from the man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Without having a conversation. Yeah. Okay. So, but if he's secure in himself, we can have a conversation. It's like, I know you understand that. And then you guys can get there and let him take care of everything that happens there.
Right.
But it's all about communication and conversation. So even in relationship, when you talk about finances, you have to do financial management, understanding, and what it looks like.
So one of the things that has been a very common conversation on my phone line with women that I know is that they will meet a man and they will connect with him and they will have an amazing relationship. And then 5 months in, they find out he's married. Right? And these are not like 50-year-old men. Some of them ain't even 40-year-old men, right? but they're married. And they've been separated from their wives. So the woman has actually been to his new residence, stayed the night, experienced like him. And now they find out about this other woman. Their emotions are involved. And they're like, okay, well, what do I do? Because he's still telling me, well, we're about to get divorced. And this isn't the first conversation like this. Like, got at least 3 of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, what do you do? Like, what do you tell a woman where that's the situation, and now their heart, their emotions are involved in something that they don't even know is real?
Mm-hmm. So, and it's funny because I work with some women who are going through that right now. So we're definitely paying attention to the patterns and what's happening within that relationship. What is he saying, and is it lined up with his words?
Mm-hmm.
So again, you're having these conversations early, not waiting until you're 5 months in and in love, and then you both are expecting certain things. You're hurt because these are things that you possibly missed in conversation or just went with the flow, and now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So now you want to find out what's your process, because there's always circumstances like I have to be separated for a year before I get a divorce. I have to do this. And what got you to the point where it's hurting you at this particular time 5 months later? If you're just finding out about that, then again, we should have had conversations earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But you also don't want to string yourself along this process, because sometimes men and women say this, oh, we're just waiting to get a divorce, when they're actually not.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally just upset with each other. This is their pattern, and this is what they do to get back. Or somebody just, I've seen people in different cities where they stay in different cities for a certain period of time. They say they're, divorcing or separated, but they're just in another area for this particular time, and then they're going to go back. Like they spend half of the year here, half of the year there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have somebody that's keeping them company at the time.
Right.
So again, more conversation. Really ask the man, like, are you married? Are you, are you divorced? What's your process? Again, conversation.
Lie.
So you're being corrected.
I've been on one of those ends where, because when I'm going through my little questionnaire, like, and it's early on, and I'll say, like, are you married? And they'll blatantly lie, like, no. And then later on, you'll later find out. And then what they'll tell me is, well, it was really early when you asked, so I really didn't know where this was going. So I didn't really think it was necessary to just tell you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's his responsibility. I mean, you did what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So now, again, you're connected with this person. You're asking, they're saying they lied. Pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. They lied. They literally made a choice to hide it from you. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a decision because they didn't really know you, they didn't give an opportunity for you to really know them because they're hiding something from you. Now, if somebody lied this whole time, then okay, well, I believe that you're a liar. I believe you made a decision. Now I have to make a decision with the information that you gave me.
Right.
And it hurts. But imagine if you never knew.
Right.
You're a year long. You're about to say, okay, what's happening with our relationship? And you find out that this person is married.
Right. So one of the questions that came through in the chat, which made me chuckle, is the right question, what's your legal relationship status?
Hey, why not? Yeah. What is your legal relationship status? And if he really likes you, and if he's really in that space, like we talk about being honest, we talk about giving people opportunities to handle whatever is presented to them. Because some people may be okay with that.
Right.
Okay, you're in the process. I believe you. I'll see how it goes. I'm going to take my time, and then I'll see what you do, and then I can make a decision. But don't take my decision away from me.
Yeah.
So really asking that question and believe in them, because it's up to them to tell you the truth.
Right.
It's not your responsibility to make them tell you the truth. It's up to them. And then when they come back with a lie, then you're like, okay, well, you showed me what's going on. It's like, I didn't want to. Well, so now we're moving forward, and now everything is questioned. This whole relationship and this time together has been questioned. Is it sincere? Mm-hmm. Are you really done with your ex?
Right.
What am I doing? What happens if we get into a relationship and you decide that you don't want to be with me, but I'm thinking everything is fine, but you're telling somebody else the same thing.
Right.
And now I'm confused because that stuff is in the back of our head.
Mm-hmm. So somebody just said every man needs to share this advice with every man he knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's very true. Now, another thing that I've seen, and I'm curious because I know that they say men have egos. Men need to feel important. They need to feel needed. And so for some women, we lack the ability to stroke those egos. So how important is it to make your man feel needed?
I think feeling needed and ego are two different things.
Okay.
So, and then you got feeling appreciated as well.
Mm-hmm.
That just makes people feel good. That's everybody wants that.
That's universal. Yeah.
And I think, women have some of the same things as well. You just label it different. Like you want to know if you did something for your man that you feel good about it. You want to know the things that you're doing for your man that is appreciated. You want to know that you're a good partner to them. You want to feel needed and wanted in that relationship. Men want the same thing. Whether we call it ego, appreciation, love, attention, those are all different things that can be wrapped up in the ego. I think the ego term is a little bit different. So ego is where it becomes extreme. Now, I'm not talking about, because I can get clinical with the super ego, the id, and the ego. That's something totally different.
Uh-huh.
But the ego is essentially just letting him know, hey, I appreciate the things that you're doing. Although I can do them by myself, I appreciate that, because sometimes we minimize what other people do for us. And I think sometimes our insecurities and our fear don't even allow us to say thank you. Because if I tell you that you're important to me, that means you're going to have control over me. So we run from appreciation because it's literally telling them, well, I'm giving him too much power. I'm letting him know that he's too valuable in my life. That means he has control over me.
Do you think that also ties into our sometimes inability to be vulnerable?
Yeah, absolutely. I just did a post on vulnerability on my Instagram. But it's definitely because what happens when we're vulnerable and somebody doesn't take care of that vulnerability?
Mm.
It becomes less and less that we want to reveal it or show it. So, but you also need confirmation that it's okay to be vulnerable. Like you need to communicate that you're vulnerable.
Well,
Like,
what are some indicators that should let us know, like, it's safe? Because I think it really wraps around that safety net of, like, can I trust that this is a safe space for me to be vulnerable?
So we need to pay attention to that through conversation, through history and action between us. So that literally shows us if we can be vulnerable. Like through our initial conversation, we're asking these questions, we're learning about each other, we're hanging out, we're learning if we can be vulnerable. We're paying attention to what a person is saying and how they're treating us. That's literally showing us if we're able to be vulnerable. And also vulnerability is less about the other person, but more about you handling the response to your vulnerability. So if I'm vulnerable with you and then you don't give me the right response, it doesn't take away that I'm vulnerable. It just takes away whether I can trust you with it.
Mm.
But I'm still okay sharing this because I'm honest and I'm sincere and I'm speaking my truth. This bothers me. So what are you going to do with it? And then you give opportunity for them to address it. And then if they don't, then you learn, okay, I am vulnerable. I'm okay with that. But you're not okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't know how to handle my vulnerability. So maybe we need to discuss if we're a match or not. Mm-hmm. And we need to respect each other's vulnerability. We don't abuse the vulnerability. The vulnerability is not a weapon for us. And again, communication. And again, when we're offended, then we need to talk about that.
Right. Now, what happens if you are the person responsible for causing someone to feel as though they can no longer be vulnerable with you? Like you've hurt them, you have cheated on them, but you really want to move the direction in a positive way. You recognize that you've done some things wrong in the past. Like, what are some things that you can do to prove to the person that you're genuinely interested in being with them and moving that relationship forward?
You have to exercise a lot of humility, empathy, understanding, and patience, because that doesn't go away. You know, sometimes you guys can be going well for 8 months, and something can trigger that, and you have to be patient with that. You have to be humble. You can't just tell them you need to get over that. That's not fair to them because they didn't do that. They're experiencing and they're re-experiencing some of the things, thoughts, feelings, emotions. Be humble, be patient, be understanding, and be consistent with your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that you used to do that were so free flowing, you need to bring back because you need to show her or him that you're important, that they're important to you, and this relationship is important. So, what am I pouring into this relationship to rebuild this trust?
Now, what if you're the receiver? What are some things that you can do to help you heal and manage those triggers?
hmm So, again, you do the same thing. You got to exercise patience with yourself, forgiveness with yourself. You ultimately have to make a choice to forgive your partner, and you don't take ownership for the behavior. Because I think a lot of times when we're cheated on, we look at ourselves. What did we do wrong? How did we not show up? What did I do to make him or her do that to me? But regardless of what's happening, they still make a decision because that's a decision to please whatever they feel like they're lacking, or sometimes just to do something because that's what they are. That's part of their character. They don't know how to, hold themselves accountable. So what you want to do is, again, take some time to yourself, express how that made you feel, and express, these are the boundaries that I need to be set for us to continue this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that I need to change, and this needs to happen for a while. Like, I need you to show me that you're serious about the relationship, that this won't happen again. And I want to, and if you decide if you want to build trust, then you both have to work towards it. You don't have to ignore it just because they're saying get over it. You don't have to do that. But when your triggers do come up, you need to be able to talk about it and talk about it in a healthy way once you get to that point. You say, hey, this is bothering me. This trigger, this came up. Can we talk about it? Like, can we do something different? It's really bothering me. And the other person, they might feel annoyed. I thought we dealt with this. But again, patience, humility, we have to talk about this.
Right. Now, I want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about Dear Future Wife, Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. That is the title of Bashea Williams' book. It is available on Amazon and I'm sure probably other outlets. Bashea, what was your motivation and inspiration behind writing this book?
So initially, it happened after a relationship that failed in college, my sophomore year. I had this idea that once I got to college, I was going to meet someone. We're going to get married. We're going to graduate together. We're going to do all this stuff like that. And I literally, I was literally trying to get married.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was trying to build a family without building a relationship. And so I was doing everything that I thought a husband to do for someone I was just dating or in a relationship with. Both immature, young, and the relationship failed. So from that point on, I said, all these things that I want to do as a husband, all these things I want to do in a relationship, I'm going to put them on paper.
Mm-hmm.
This paper doesn't hurt. Paper doesn't talk back. Paper doesn't reject. Mm-hmm. So all those things. So I started to keep like literally a journal. Mm-hmm. And also during that time, I was going through my college. I was going through my marriage and family, my social work stuff. I was getting a lot of information when it comes to relationships. Friends always came to me about relationships. I was always on these relationship panels. And then when I went to Facebook, like I would get questions and all that type of stuff. So I turned some of those questions into articles and subjects in my book. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I went from a blog to a book. So that's how this whole thing came about. And it's a workbook. It gives a clinical perspective, a breakdown, it asks questions, and it's about every single subject when it comes to relationships.
So one person mentioned, I have a chapter that I want you to talk about. Well, one person mentioned that their favorite chapter in your book is Dating with Purpose. Talk to us a little bit about what are some of those tools that come with dating with purpose.
So when I'm talking about first, the man, because I'm talking about a man's guide. First, we have to get rid of all these idiosyncrasies about what dating looks like, being selfish, being a man and trying to control and run things, or just dating for fun. We have to be honest and open about our intentions of what we're doing. Even if you're saying you're dating multiple people, be clear about that. Be honest, because these are conversations that you need to have. Nobody needs to be left in the dark. You got to be honest and date with integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if the purpose of getting married, then you have to eliminate some of those extra things, which includes extra people, because that's extra conversation that doesn't help you get to know one single person.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're juggling, and it's more stressful to be dating multiple people, because ultimately we all have different personalities, different attitudes, different needs, different wants,
Mm-hmm.
and it's difficult to juggle. So if I'm dating you with purpose, my purpose is what? Being honest about your purpose. My purpose is just to hang out. My purpose is to get to know you. My purpose is to court you. My purpose is to get married. My purpose is to get the rest, get to be with you the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So really being clear and intentional of what you're doing.
Now, I'm asking for a friend. Are you dating with a purpose, or are you in a relationship? Are you single? What's your status?
No, I'm in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, which actually leads me to this one, chapter 18. The search is over. Talk to us a little bit about that chapter.
So that was an interesting. I actually wrote that in my last relationship, because I realized the relationship I wasn't in, it wasn't healthy, and I need to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So at that particular time, it was a lot of insecurity that was going on, and I was trying to reaffirm that person. And so what I was saying was the search is over. So I know a lot of times they say men, we're taught as hunters, right? And so, but what happens when you have what you were hunting?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't continue to hunt. You learn different ways to eat what you have on your plate.
Mm-hmm.
You learn different ways to keep what you have satisfied. You learn different ways to date and court and love the person in front of you, as opposed to learning different ways to date different women.
Mm-hmm.
So you pour all that extra energy into your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say the search is over, I'm no longer searching for the right one. She's right here. So how can I love her differently?
Right. Now, one of the things that I feel like my grandmother always told me is that a lot of times that this is the person that you want to be with very early on in the relationship. So would you agree with that? Would you disagree with that? Like what are your thoughts?
I think it's based on the connection and knowing, like, if you know what you want, you know who you are and all that type of stuff, and you're able to communicate that thing and be okay with your responses, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times we all make a decision, okay, this is who I want to be with. And then life happens and you realize I no longer want to be with that. You can say that happens with everybody who had a long-term relationship, but some things happen along the way where you say, okay, I'm making a decision to stay, or you're making a decision to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when you decide to get in a relationship, you're making a decision, this is who I want to be with. Mm-hmm. You're not getting into a relationship to end it. So we have all these cliches which are conflicting with real life. You know what I'm saying? So again, you meet somebody, you say, you know what, I'm interested in. So that love at first sight idea is a decision to stay connected.
Right.
Because love is consistent, it's active. Even when you don't like the person, you still love them. Even when you're not getting along, you're committed to that relationship.
Right. No, I agree. And so Tamara says that I like that one also. Then to follow up with, will you submit? Love it. Yeah. No, I totally agree. All right. So just curious, because these are essentially like articles, a compilation of different works. What's your favorite chapter in this book?
Probably Can I Be Vulnerable is one, and also your voice, the way you talk. I think that's the name of the chapter, how you speak. I think it's chapter 26. Let me grab it real quick. I forgot the name of the title because I'm writing another
Can we communicate 26?
Okay, let me see. Um,
Your words?
yes, your words.
Okay. Why is that
Your
your
words.
favorite?
Because I believe that, like I wrote, I think the woman holds the key to a man's soul. Like the way she speaks to him, the way she speaks to him, you have the ability to destroy us or uplift us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, and I think women know that. And we have to know that too. We have to be able to communicate too. But, if a woman is speaking into you and you can receive it like a woman that you're with, and you can receive it. And that doesn't mean like you're always telling me good stuff. You can hold me accountable too, because I trust what you say is for the betterment of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have a crazy idea that doesn't make sense, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we talk about it is important.
Right.
If you just tell me I'm crazy, like you always come up with these cockamamie ideas, then you're not safe for me to talk to you. So, but if you say, you know what, let's think that through. Like, does that really make sense? Like, help me make it sense. Like, help me understand it, so we can have a conversation. Because I might come up with an idea with my significant other, and then I tell her, and then we talk it out, and she's like, and then I'm like, as I'm talking it out, I was like, yeah, maybe that was too much. So a woman's words, again, what you speak to us, because we see stuff online, how women speak and how they speak to their man. I was watching Love Goals, and I don't know if you've seen that show on OWN.
Mm-mm.
It's a good show. It's actually a good show. It's a therapist actually facilitates it, and it's real therapy, group therapy, individual therapy. Some celebrities on there. But the first episode of Benzino, and he was dating someone. He has his child's mother is Althea, and that first um, way into the scene is the way the things that she was saying. And just throwing all types of shots at him.
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to hold back, and then he exploded. And then she was the victim because of his response. And so while he didn't respond in a healthy way, she also was triggering him, saying things that hurt.
Oh, that's hard.
And I know that's a protection mechanism for some people, because I want you to feel the way I feel, so I'm going to say the things that make you hurt.
Yeah. Wow. Now, with that, because I'll put myself out there, I am not the best when it comes to tapping into my emotions. I'm not the best at um, clearly saying how something might make me feel, right? Now, I'm not like the retaliate and like, I don't think like verbally. I might be the I'll show you better than I can tell you type person. But how can, and I'll say this for myself, and I know that there are a lot of other women like me. How can I be a little bit more soft around the edges when it comes to my tongue?
Hmm. So you have to ask yourself first, how do you want to be talked to? Like if you're in a delicate situation and you're feeling a certain way, how would you want somebody to approach you when it comes to what you're feeling and what's bothering you?
Mm-hmm.
So if we literally do role reversal in some place before we go into that conversation, if somebody said this to me, how would I make it? Would I get defensive?
But do we
Uh,
always take the time to think
no, we don't.
before?
And that's the problem. That's the problem. Literally, and that's why I say I do that exercise when people are literally listening to another person. So communicating, taking a pause and saying that, okay, if you're going to somebody hurt you or something like that, and you're ready to respond and saying, you know what, let me tell you how that made me feel, and then we can go into my response. Because now you're not defensive because you're telling me something that you're feeling, as opposed to saying, I'm always doing like those absolutes are, destructive to a healthy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're learning what your emotions are, learn what your emotions are. And the ultimate goal is to get your needs met and not to make the other person feel bad for what they did to you.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. That was good. Now, before we wrap, because we are almost at our after hours hour, if you all have any last minute questions, please, please, please throw them in the chat really quickly. Because we are about to let Bashea get to his evening. So yes, please post any last minute questions. I tried to go through them as much as possible as you guys were throwing them out there. So if I missed yours, please just copy, paste, and I will be sure to ask him. Now, Bashea, what would you say is the one thing that um, a spiritually inclined man will look for in a woman or will notice in a woman?
Spiritually inclined.
Yeah, like a spiritual man.
Mm-hmm. So the same thing that he's, you know, giving, the same thing that he is. So if I'm spiritually inclined, if I'm, I have a relationship with God, I talk about it, and I want to hear you talk about it as well.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about praying, I want to hear you pray as well. I think sometimes, some people who don't trust their prayers in front of another person, I think that's, very, as much as you are afraid, we understand that it's a conversation.
Yeah.
So the same conversation that you have with God in private, it's okay to have in person. Like don't be afraid of your voice. You can share your relationship. Even if you're young in your relationship with God, express that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it in a fear-based way. Just say, I don't typically pray out that, but I want to get to know you. I want to have a relationship. So I'm going to do this, and I'm be confident because I want the relationship and I trust you.
Right.
But you also don't allow anybody to abuse their relationship with God to tell you what you need to be doing because this is what God said, because he'll tell you the same thing too. So we got to be careful with those because some people, hide behind prayer or hide behind whatever religion or spiritual relationship they have, and they try to dictate how you guys communicate.
Right.
So again, more questions, get more practice, and this is the perfect time because you're having more time to talk.
Right.
So some of those things that you're doing online, have these legitimate conversations. Get on the phone, do a Zoom, and talk.
But what if you don't know people yet, Bashea? That's the thing. I know you talked about what Stacey J did, but that's over and done with. But what about the people who are like, yo, I'm trying to find somebody so I can have these encounters and interactions with? Because if you're cooped up in the house with just kids,
Mhm.
you ain't
So
got
there's
no adult conversations really.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are cooped up in the house with kids. There's a lot of people that are well, everybody's cooped up in the house. So now again, it's the perfect time to go online, be honest, and say I'm looking to date. Put it out there. Without yeah,
I forgot y'all can see me.
yeah. Because what happened? What happened? Like when everything was open, you were going outside and nobody knew, or you were single, or if you're available until they asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're continuously posting like you were before, people aren't in front of you. They don't see you out. So now we have to kind of let it go. It's like, I'm looking to date. Like I would love to date. You Google some different apps and different things like that. You ask people who talk about relationships online.
I am asking.
If, right. If they are have access to certain people or they know different things that are happening when people are going on dating online and stuff like that. Um, you know, they can put out a post for you. Like, I'm looking for somebody that's serious. I have somebody that's interested. Like, let me know. And kind of like look for, that virtual matchmaker.
I
Again, there's
don't
so
know too
many
many.
people, you go, the things that you like if you like D Nice, right? Or if you like all those people things that have those online things,
Yeah.
go on there, listen to music. You see somebody interested, send them a message.
I don't know so many people who would do that.
Where it's different times. Everything is
Agree.
different now.
I agree.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that you're interested. You're not courting them. You're not pursuing them. You're just telling them that you're interested, and they have to put in the work. So there's a difference between saying that I'm available and trying to get them to be you're available.
I agree. I mean, I feel you. Like, okay. Like, I can hear, like, I know people are going to watch and they're going to be like, wait a second. He wants
I
me
know.
to do what?
Right. And it's all up to you. I mean, how else do you do it? Like, you can get on the apps. Like, even if they're like people use Tinder, you're still making a choice when you swipe. I don't know if it's left or right, whatever.
I don't know.
You're still initiating contact.
Yeah.
You're just doing without speaking.
So, but, okay. So, one of the comments that just came in is, I like the idea for a mutual friend to make an introduction. I feel like if it's, I think that's standard. Like, we'll share with our friend, like, yo, this is my situation. they might say, yo, I think this person will be a good fit for you to connect with. But you're saying do the same thing just from a virtual perspective.
Yeah, do the same thing because it also gets tricky too when you have that friend who knows both of y'all, and then something goes
Thank
wrong.
you.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, okay.
So boundaries, clear boundaries. If you do go that route, clear boundaries. You know, the friend that's doing a hookup, I don't want to know what's happening to y'all. Hope y'all make it. If y'all don't, I'm still both of y'all friends.
Right.
Unless nobody doing anything ratchet, you know, it's yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So constant conversation.
All right, awesome. Well, Bashea, thank you so much for being my guest tonight on After Hours. If you guys are interested, please pick up a copy of his book, Dear Future Wife. It is available on Amazon. Is it on your website as well, Bashea?
It's on my website, but I'm not sending out books because I'm not ordering. I
Oh,
wait for everything to calm down. But yeah, Amazon.
okay, so probably any of your favorite bookstores, it will be available there, but definitely Amazon. The author is Paul Bashea Williams. So definitely look out for the book. Grab a copy. I know I saw a number of people saying they wanted to get a copy and send it to some friends that are dealing with some relationship issues right now. So I'm super excited to see that.
Yeah.
Again, Bashea, thank you for sharing your time, your wisdom, your passion for mental health as well as relationships. We truly, truly appreciate having you. And for you at home, thank you so much for joining me on this special hour of, let's say office hours, but after hours. You can join us for our regular show, Office Hours, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on Facebook typically, but we might start doing it on YouTube. This was pretty cool. All right, so we will see you next time. If you want more information, you can text 319 office hours to 31996, and you can join our newsletter mailing list. Thank you, Meredith Moore Crosby, for running our comment section, and for you at home for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Be blessed.